how has the recently announced EU-US trade agreement sparked factional rifts within the European political ranks, industries, and public opinion?
I'm glad to join you live from Barcelona, where I've just
Always a
arrived.
pleasure.
And actually, to describe the situation, I would use as a metaphor a term which was coined in the 1920s by French and Spanish painters and poets, which is surreal. And that school of thought was called back in the days surrealism. So it means beyond unbelievable. So when something is beyond unbelievable, crazy, ridiculous, you call it surreal, beyond reality. So today, the French Prime Minister, François Bayrou, said it was a sad day for freedom and democracy and that Europe was humiliated. And many ministers who are members of President Macron's own inner circle, including, Benjamin Haddad and Jean-Noël Barrot, right? So respectively, the Minister for European Union Affairs, Haddad, and Barrot, the foreign minister, they both said they were horrified and they both said it was a dark day for democracy. Why am I saying it's surreal and ridiculous? It's because these guys, Macron, Bayrou, Barrot, and company, they are hardcore supporters of Ursula von der Leyen. In the past 7 years, every time a French industrial, so every time a French industry leader, every time the CEO of a big French exporting company or a high-tech company dared criticize Ursula von der Leyen, Bayrou and Macron insulted him, and they said he was a traitor and that France needed to abide by the rules of European Union solidarity.
Democracy, indeed.
Yeah, and what did we get? What did the poor French get for all the sacrifices they made in the past 7 years on the altar of that supreme European Union solidarity? What they got yesterday in Aberdeen, Scotland, they were stabbed in the back. So without any hesitation, like a cold animal, at 6 p.m. UK time yesterday, Ursula von der Leyen stabbed France in the back, and she signed that deal with Trump. Now, bravo Trump. Trump is not a bad guy, unlike what the Europeans say. Trump is only defending his own country.
Exactly.
So I wish
his own interests, his country's interests.
Yeah, Trump is very fiercely, very cynically, but who cares? He's defending the interests of the American working class and the CEOs of American high-tech and industrial companies. Bravo, it's his job. But sadly, in Europe, we don't have the same sort of fiercely focused pro-business ethos, and we have internal betrayals because once again, the French government for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, under the supervision of people like Bayrou or Barrot or Macron, they made a lot of sacrifice, telling the French voters and telling the CEOs of big French companies, don't worry, later on, we will get, we'll reap the fruits, the sacrifices we're making today will be rewarded. And not only the sacrifices French companies and French workers did in the past 7 years were never rewarded, they got stabbed in the back. So clearly, there's something in strategy, in corporate strategy, but it's used also in military strategy, right? So when you are weak, when you are visibly weak, and when the other party, the party with whom you are negotiating, be he a friend or a rival or an enemy, sometimes you negotiate with enemies, sometimes you negotiate with allies, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
When the other party knows that you are weak and disorganized and incompetent, like Ursula von der Leyen, where they can smell the weakness. And someone like President Trump, he has the animal instinct to smell the weakness.
Exactly.
So he negotiated with Ursula von der Leyen based on a very simple philosophy. And Trump's philosophy when bargaining with poor Ursula is the following: what is mine, what is yours is negotiable. And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly. That was the basis of the negotiations. So how do the criticisms from officials in France, Germany, and Hungary actually reflect broader concerns over Europe's negotiating power and economic independence?
Well, clearly it's a betrayal. Once again, if you are American, it's great. And so Trump did everything perfectly, smartly, and efficiently. He maximized, we say in game theory and economics, he optimized. So what Trump got is the optimal, the best possible outcome. You have outcome A, B, C, D, you have like 10, 20, 30 different outcomes. What Trump got yesterday night in Aberdeen, Scotland, was the best imaginable possible outcome for the US economy. What the European got is the worst possible outcome. So normally when two big powers negotiate, you reach what is called a middle of the road solution.
Exactly.
And Ursula von der Leyen and Macron, they always say, oh, we are a superpower. So when you listen to, Macron...
And that would be the definition of a win-win situation. A win-win situation means compromises by each group, but not one party or one group eating up the other and achieving the maximum benefits.
Yes, especially when supposedly the two players negotiating are roughly of the same size. So the Europeans, especially people like Bayrou, Macron, and von der Leyen, they always say, oh, we are a superpower.
Exactly.
We are bigger than the US. And when the moment came for them to show their cards, they yielded under pressure. And it's really horrible because for the future of European tech, for the future of European high-tech industry, it is a disaster because the biggest concession Trump got from them is now they agreed in writing in the next 2-3 years to force French, German, Italian industrial companies to invest $900 billion